Like we're live. It says live.
It does say live. I mean, but it's a whole new day, right? We are.
It is a new day.
It is a new day, and it is a interesting situation. So, good morning, Shawn.
Good morning, Jamaica.
Good morning, both YouTube and Facebook. Because
you're excited.
I am so excited. I got a new toy. It's just, listen, it don't take much for me.
Well, I'm actually pretty impressed with some of the captions that we see on this platform. It's a little bit different, but before all of that, hey, good morning, everyone that's tuning in now and tuning in later. Peace. What up? March 22nd, 2021. We're here. We're back in the building.
We are back in the building, and I right now am telling everyone that we're live on YouTube and on Facebook because I'm just really excited. Like,
I mean, literally all because of you.
I mean, I figured things out. But honestly, one of the reasons that this is happening is because of Casey Charles.
Yes.
It was months ago that Casey said to us, hey, listen, you need to go from YouTube to Facebook. It's really what you should do. And we were like, yeah. And now he finally did it. So good morning to Casey if you see this now or later, because we figured it out.
Yeah,
we figured it out. And we are here. And so that anyone that knows the way that this works, because of this new platform that we're on, if you write comments on Facebook or if you write something in the chat on YouTube, we'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to actually look at different screens anymore.
Yeah.
We have this one service right in front of us that allows us to see what y'all say. So actually, if anyone is watching right now, drop a good morning. Let's test it and see if it actually works. Because, beta mode, let's see if it's actually working. What y'all say. So, and then we'll just,
it works fine.
The other thing is that there's closed captioning.
Yeah.
This service, and it's really good because it allows us to be even more inclusive. And see what is going on.
I see Anthony in there. Good morning, Anthony. Top of the morning. They have a stop the Asian hate rally coming up. We are definitely aware of that. Good morning. Was that Mel, Lapierre Boxer, Kaylin, and Jeremy? That's what I see in the chat so far. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So for anyone that's watching on Facebook, you already know we're on Facebook at Untitled and Free. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can follow us on Facebook. You also can follow us on Twitter because we're on every social media platform at Untitled and Free. And that's also true for Instagram, right? So at Untitled and Free on Instagram. So whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, it's always Untitled and Free. But today, this morning, we're here to talk about where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's been, a lot of things feel like they're coming to a kind of, especially when you're talking about the task force in each of our localities. Those are being voted on and argued about, discussed over social media, in the media, and in those backdoor rooms about what we're going to see moving forward. That's happening now. April 1st is a fast approaching deadline, and that's something that we definitely need to be talking about. But before we get to talk about that, I want to just say, look, the weather was great yesterday.
Oh my goodness,
the weather is going to be good today.
Great.
I'm putting the brakes on my motorcycle. I will be back on that bike. Y'all know me. Y'all gonna see me out there on that bike. Hopefully y'all saw me last year and y'all got inspired to come out and ride, right? I'm giving free lessons for the first week of spring. If you want to learn how to ride, hit me up and I'll talk to you about it.
And I can let you know from personal experience, he's a very good teacher because you taught me to ride last year.
Nice.
For my birthday. It was great. And so your girl's going to be on a bike as well. Don't have it yet. So also just shout out to anybody that's selling a motorcycle. Hit me up because I'm not trying to wait until the end of summer to be on the bike.
Yeah.
But
Anthony said the weather looks like more protest weather.
Yes, it is. It is protest season.
It is protest season.
Protest season is here, and we have plenty to protest about. So let's just like jump right in, because we also are trying to just have 30-minute segments, right?
Yeah, cut it down to 30-minute segments.
Yep.
Kind of just, get to the short and sweet of it. Get that information and be out.
Yeah.
Can't be here dragging it for an hour or so. We got other work we got to be doing. So where are we at? Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the police task force? Do you want to start with you have to stop the Asian hate rally today? You want to talk about that? Like, where do you want to go?
I mean, so yeah, there's so many different things. Let's start with the fact that anyone who isn't already on our email list, because something that we do every single week, actually on Fridays and Mondays, is send email blasts out to those that are on our email list and let them know what are the actions and events that are happening, what are the access points to be in touch with local legislators, like email addresses, phone numbers to call them. If you're not already on our email list, you can join our email list through actionnetwork.org/forms/all of us in 2021. And it puts your zip code in there. And so then emails that go out about Albany, that are specific to Albany, will go to all the Albany folks and so on and so forth. So be sure to sign up for the email list, because first one went out this morning, 8 a.m.
All right.
And talked about some of the stuff we're going to talk about on this live, but then allows you to have it in your hand. So you don't have to be like, what was that? You can click all the links and get to additional information. I guess let's talk about where we are with the task forces and the timeline that we're on, and where do we go from here? What is the opportunity that people have in their localities to still be a part of the process and actually have transformation, not just performance?
Well, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I find myself in a position similar to Paul. That's Paul Collins Hackett, Paul Kane, aka Batman, where he's like, all of this has been a performance up to this point, and holding us to this arbitrary deadline of the first, thinking that we are going to stop here. We're going to continue. We need to make sure that we're just going to continue to push for the change that we need. It seems like, it doesn't seem like it actually is, right? The fact that every single one of these localities that's initiated these task force committees that was pushed by the governor found ways to continually, I guess, silence the voices of actual transformative change and to push forward, I don't even want to say except for Albany, because it's not except for Albany. It's all of these localities. Push forward changes that were only going to be reforms and not actually address the root issue or root causes of these brutal interactions between police departments and our community. We have not seen anything, not in the capital region, that speaks to the type of change that will actually make things, will make things happen. And I want to say, like, the opportunity to still have your voices heard. Like, I know that in, I think in Saratoga, they still have an opportunity for a public meeting. I think Schenectady, we're done, right? Are we done? Or we
Not completely.
Not completely? Okay, well, you're going to tell me about that. And as far as where Albany stands, I feel like,
what?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So that's kind of my take on it. But yeah, tell me more. What's going on?
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of question marks when it comes to Albany, because we have talked to Batman and some other Albany residents who said, no, there's no public comment. What do you mean? No, it's just, yeah. So there's a whole lot of questions about, Albany kind of flying under the radar and just like passing some shit that they sent to the governor. In Schenectady, while that is similar, just like every place else, there is still an opportunity tonight. There is a public hearing about creating changes to the Civilian Police Review Board.
Okay.
And the reason that's still an opportunity is because the Civilian Police Review Board changes should have been a part of the reform that was put forward.
Yeah.
The police chief and the mayor actually excluded the Civilian Police Review Board from any reform conversations. And they only call it reform. They straight up are just like reform, reform, reform. Let's do reform first and see if we need to do more, is what the mayor actually said on video. But having that conversation about the Civilian Police Review Board at a public hearing is an opportunity to say, one, the changes they're making to Civilian Police Review Board at this moment are not enough. And it should have been a part of the process of reinventing policing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The governor called for reinvention of what policing looks like in communities that specifically addresses racial bias.
Yeah.
And Schenectady didn't do that.
Yeah, and puts an emphasis on those communities.
Yes.
In a serious way, because those are communities that have been most directly impacted, most directly harmed by the changes that need to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I know I'm interested. I'm really interested in how this thing shapes up for April 1st, and then what position that puts us in as an organization and all the other organizations that rep in the capital region. What position are we going to be in to put pressure on our representatives to make the changes that need to happen in this community? Where are we going to be? Where do we stand? I know y'all always tuning in to our lives to have these conversations. Some of y'all I've seen at workshops and all of that. That's a part of what we need to be doing. Mm-hmm. But we're also going to, begin to actively get in the streets to demand the changes that we want, right? Yeah. We're going to be at the city halls. We're going to be in conversation. There's a lot going on. I know this is in the middle of the legislative session. That's going to be ending in June. There's time in between now and then to push some of those state bills, right?
And there's time to pressure our localities to do more at the state level. Mm-hmm. Because where are our local leaders calling for statewide change? Mm-hmm. I didn't see Kathy Sheehan or Gary McCarthy or Meg Kelly or Mayor Madden calling for an end to solitary confinement, which passed in the Assembly and passed in the Senate, and now Governor Cuomo, get off your ass and sign it, right? Didn't hear them come out and speak about that. Don't hear them speaking about any of the other parole justice initiatives that would help our incarcerated community members right now. Where are they calling for a statewide change to policing? Because state troopers,
it's in their power.
Where's their plan? So our local elected officials need to do more at the local level, as well as being advocates for statewide change, and not saying things that we hear them say all the time, like, oh, well, that's out of my purview. That's not within my responsibility. That's, beyond our control, because that's bullshit.
That is BS. I see some activity in the chat. I want to point out, and Ellie's talking about in Schenectady, we have the opportunity to let new voices. That's right. This is an electoral season. There is opportunity to get folks in them seats, right? That have the perspective we have and want the changes that we want, so that we can get some of these policies legislated. Right? So that's a beautiful thing, and that's true not just of Schenectady, but also of Albany.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So for anyone that's new to electoral politics, understand that depending on when someone is elected into office and the term of the office, right? So if it's a 4-year seat, a 2-year seat, it doesn't always line up. Yeah. So for Schenectady, the mayor is not in November's election.
Yeah.
He just got elected to office. But in Albany, the mayor is up for re-election. So folks need to pay attention to, where they live, who's on the ballot, who's running for office. And if you feel as if the person who currently represents you is not representing the interests that are going to create change, then who will?
That's right.
Is there somebody else running that has a platform that's going to allow for transformative change and has a plan to actually create that change? Not just, everybody needs childcare. We know that. How are you going to get there, right? Because anyone can scream that we need change, but what is your plan for actually creating that? At the state level, there's a fight for revenue. So what do resources look like locally? Where's that money coming from? Where's it going? Who's spending it? Who's making the decisions? Because the Sky Park in Albany, nobody wants it, Kathy.
I mean, that's like window dressing on in a place that needs so much more. Like the money, I personally just feel like the money could be spent in a way that's way more productive for the community. And then if you are having like infrastructure kind of projects and you're trying to do something different, why aren't you also making sure that those in those communities that are impoverished have the training and the opportunity to get a job there? Yeah. Right? Like think like I feel like if you're going to make sure this, if you're like, this is a thing that'll make this thing a beautiful area that will be attractive to other people and investment and all that other stuff. Yep. Make sure that the folks that are getting those jobs, right, have opportunity. From the community and have that opportunity to actually invest in their own community. That's how that. It seems like it just makes sense, and sometimes we just get far away from it. And I'm hopeful that with these new people coming in, there will be new people in them seats.
Absolutely.
I'm almost positive about it.
Schenectady for real is on fire. Because where do we go from here when it comes to the electoral process and the candidates that are running? So in Schenectady, we have the largest number of seats that are open for a district our size. Mm-hmm. There are 3 incumbents that are up for re-election, and there are 2 vacant seats. 2 people step down, and their 2 years have to be maintained. Yeah. So it's 2 separate elections, but at the same time. Yeah. 3 people for a 4-year term, 2 people for a 2-year term. And I'm just gonna say there's not everyone who's running for re-election that has been supportive of Black and Brown, that's been supportive of poor communities, that's been fighting for transformative change. We have not come up with a process organizationally about what endorsements look like. We are working on a community questionnaire to ask candidates to fill out, and that we will publicly share. Yeah. To say this is where candidates stand on issues, so that the public knows where they stand on, like, a 1-pager or something. Yeah. Not the Democratic Party, not the Working Families Party, but the people. Because these individuals went and got endorsements from parties. We don't see those questionnaires. Yeah. I mean, I saw the questionnaire because I'm a Working Families Party member and I was a part of the interviews, but they're kept private. And I respect that process. I also know that there needs to be a process for the people to know where they stand, to have access. And where we go from here is that we make sure that the people in local communities know where candidates stand who are running for office, are aware of, can they still register to vote, right? What's the primary? When is the primary? Who are the candidates? Like all of these questions, these are things that people need to be educated on. And I know that we've had some organizations reach out to us because they're going to have tabling events around voter registration, and some people are looking for public forums and stuff like that. So more information to come as that happens. But at the same time, I'm with Anthony. We ready to be in them streets because we know from experience that where we go from here, our voices have the greatest impact in numbers.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And shout out to Tom. I see you in there. I see you, Tom. Hey, congratulations on the new V. I'll see if that thing is that gonna be in the streets this year too? I mean, let me know. It's brand new. I don't know if you want to do that. Just let me know. And so we have there's other things going on in the chat. Like Catherine says, in Troy, there's elections happen. We know there's elections that are going to be going on in Saratoga as well. Mel asked about regionals, and reach out to Lex if you're trying to get something done in Saratoga, Mel. And all others that are trying to get involved, look, you say you know it. And all of y'all trying to get involved, just remember, man, we had some success last year. It's gonna take some effort to pull off the changes that we want this year. Yep. And we can be impactful in a lot of different ways. And that electoral campaign, those electoral campaigns that will be coming up, it's our opportunity to push on these candidates to do the things that we think we deserve as a community. Yeah. So we ask that all of y'all, step it up, get involved. We can put people in them seats that are going to immediately, upon getting in the office, step up to the plate.
And we're going to apply pressure.
Shit. That's it. Because it ain't over just because they get in.
No,
right?
It's not over. Just like April 1st is this arbitrary deadline, which is not just a deadline for police reform. It's also the budget.
Yeah.
Right? So April 1st, for those that don't know, in New York State is a deadline to create the state budget. This is important, especially this year, because there's a whole bunch of federal aid that's coming into the state. Some of it is coming directly for education, and we need to make sure that New York State increases revenue right now so that when we get to 2022 and we don't have that federal booster payment anymore, that we're able to maintain the programs and services that school districts are going to be able to enact because of this increase in funding from the federal government.
And that's what they say, right? They to try to justify doing something else with the money. Oh, this money might run out. Well, you know what? It doesn't have to run out. We have opportunity with 100+ billionaires and 1 million millionaires in the state, right? And let's not forget the stock transfer tax. There's so many different ways in which we can take care of ourselves in New York State. This idea that somehow there's not money here, I'm telling you right now, that's a lie. There is money here.
There's plenty of money.
When they're saying it ain't money, they're saying it ain't money for you. That's what they're telling you. They're not saying it like literally there is money in this state. So we need to be thinking about what pressure Senator Jackson's bill. I think last year there were like 14 different revenue bills.
There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many to make sure that we have that additional billions of dollars that we need to run the state effectively and to put money into place in the areas of extreme need. I'm just saying.
And to Ellie's point, there's not just money that's going directly to the state, there's money that's going directly to localities. So cities will need to make decisions about how to spend money. So we need to pay attention locally. Like this money's coming in. What is the process that these elected representatives are using to ensure that money goes where it's needed for local communities, not to the police? Right. And this kind of brings us to, and I definitely, we're running up on time soon. I want to get to what are the upcoming events, because this is important. The money that's coming into New York State, the need for revenue to fully fund our schools, to have funding for our homeless community, to ensure that essential workers that have been left out of the loophole actually get the support that they need and they deserve. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., we will be at Washington Park, coming together with AQE, Citizen Action, Vocal New York, and a whole host of individuals coming from across the state, especially New York City. There's a bunch of folks coming up from New York City. We're meeting at Washington Park at 11 a.m. to demand that New York State fulfills its duty to make sure that it takes care of the communities that are in most need. That means revenue. Right? And all of the ways that money needs to be spent. Because what New York State has done in the past is tried to divide us and say, oh, well, if I give money to education, I can't give it here. If I do this, I can't do that. It's not true. As Shawn said, there's plenty of resources in New York State. And the last time that New York State raised money on millionaires, the number of millionaires in New York State increased. So they're not going anywhere. New York State is one of the financial capitals of the world.
That's just a story like they like to continue to tell in order to not do something around making sure that they are taxing the wealthiest in the state a little bit more, right? We're not even talking about, some real serious like 5 or 10, something about like 2% increases. Like we're not talking about anything that's going to do anything to make them not the richest people in the state, right? Like, come on with the BS. But before I get more into that, I just want to shout out the solitary bill that's going to get passed or is passed.
It's
no,
passed.
The governor has to sign.
The governor needs to sign it,
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a whole lot of choice, considering one, all of the scandal that's surrounding him because of the harm he's caused women, and two, that there's a supermajority in the Senate. So even if he doesn't sign it, they can just override, right? So just sign the bill and put into legislation right now the changes to solitary confinement in New York State prisons.
That is a super significant bill. And there are so many others that need to happen. Less is more, fair and timely. Like less and more is will address some of the mass supervision that we actually have across the state with parole and probation, where we have millions of people on parole and probation at risk of being sent back to prison on things like technical violations like not coming home on time.
And this is another where do we go from here moment, because different organizations across New York State are hosting activism weeks, right? So all of us, actually the third week in April, is hosting the Parole Justice Activism Week. And we will be calling out to supporters and followers across New York State and beyond, but really New York State, to call Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Carl Heastie, and tell them, bring these to the floor for a vote. And there are very specific bills, and that information will be in our email list, right? So again, if you're not on our email list, be sure that you join, because it'll be by email, it'll be on our Twitter, it'll be on our Instagram, it'll be on our Facebook. The phone numbers to call, because we need to make sure that we apply that pressure, because it is our voices that make that change. Just like we're gonna show up really in two different places today. Right? For those that are watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, or will watch this later, tonight at 5:15 in Albany, the Asian community is calling for us to stand in unity. A call to stop Asian hate. We've watched as there's been an increase in violence against our Asian siblings, and we stand with them. There is no group that should face harm for who they are. We don't stand for it. And so we're going to show up at 5:15 down at the park across from, it really sits between the Capitol building and City Hall in Albany, right? On Washington Ave side. So if you can be there at 5:15, wherever you're from, you don't have to be from Albany to go to Albany tonight and stand in support and demand to stop Asian hate. And then also at 5:30, Schenectady City Council meeting starts. And both of those events are on our Facebook page. So if you haven't already looked at it and found out how to participate or how to be a part of it, you don't actually have to have a Facebook account, because our page is public, but you can see all the information for the events there. Stop Asian Hate at 5:15, and the Schenectady City Council meeting, that's at 5:30 p.m. so that we can ensure that voices are heard in the city of Schenectady, reminding our elected representatives we want transformation. We want a civilian police review board that actually has accountability, has the power to hold officers accountable. Local Law J in Albany,
Local Law J,
should be the standard right now for across the greater capital region and beyond.
And what is that? What is the Local Law J?
Oh my goodness. So if you don't know, join us on Thursday because there will be a community conversation with all of us, the Center for Law and Justice, Youth FX, Red Bookshelf, like a bunch of groups and organizations are coming together to ensure that the Albany community is aware of what's going on and what are these local laws and how can you be involved on the local level in Albany. It's a wonderful coalition collaborative of groups and organizations coming together. Elevate 518 was on last time, and I think they're going to be on again. I hope so. Destiny, please. Local Law J transformed the Civilian Police Review Board in Albany, something that's been a fight for a long time, like all of these things, right? This isn't new.
It gave, listen, it's given the Police Review Board a little more power, a little more teeth, while not increasing, at least in my understanding, not increasing the police budget.
No, it takes money.
It takes money from the police budget. It doesn't add to it, which is great. It gives them more power in the sense that they now have subpoena power for testimony and evidence, which is important. They will likely have a say-so in disciplinary action. They'll be a part of creating the matrix for disciplinary action against an officer who harms or has misconduct in the community. Like that's not seen to be happening in anywhere else. No. There are places that have, like Rochester has tried to do something there. And there's other spaces that have tried to do something. They're going back and forth for litigation. But it's really an important step. And then you think about what we're talking about, right? We're talking about ensuring that there is a third party entity with some binding powers, right? That can pay attention to what's happening when misconduct is going on with some of the people with the most powerful kind of positions in our community. They have weapons, they have training, they have the ability to call on military force when they need to, why wouldn't you want to just make sure
there's an independent
review of what's going on? If everything is above board and everything is the way it should be, why wouldn't we be looking for an independent review of what's happening? And this is about, listen, for too long in our society, in our country, in this very community where we sit, what has been happening with the police and the community interactions has gone unchecked. With kind of like, oh, well, we know that this thing happened, but it's really not that bad. The few bad apples kind of position. And then you have police running around oftentimes feeling as if they are all powerful, being rude, being violent, etc. Now, this doesn't mean that every single officer on a force is doing this very same thing. But the fact that there is an environment where this is okay, where people feel like they can get away with this, is a problem. We all seen what was going on in Albany. They still they've been accountable for the tear gas that they used.
No, which is coming, which is another part of the conversation on Thursday, right? So we're at time.
All right.
Tonight, Monday, March 22nd, at 5:15 in Albany, downtown Albany. You can find the information on our Facebook page. 5:30 p.m. online for Schenectady. The information's on our Facebook page for you to be able to find out how to sign up, to comment, to be able to watch the WebEx and participate. On Thursday, we will have another online conversation with Center for Law and Justice, Youth FX, Elevate 518, Red Door Bookshelf, all of these groups coming together to talk about local law J, what it is, what it isn't, how we can lift up the voices of people in Albany and create the change that is necessary and keep people aware of what's going on. Upcoming events, they're listed on our Facebook page. They also are sent directly to email boxes. So if you have not, for the last time, signed up for our email list, please do so. actionnetwork.org/forms/all of us in 2021.
So before we go, I want to shout out the brother Richard Rosario. He's a good friend of mine. I don't want to tell his whole story on Facebook Live right now. He's very masterful at telling his own story. I see him in the chat, and he's like, "Yo, the only civilian complaint review board we need is our communities rising up." Shout out, brother. So bottom line, none of these entities are for us. They sell out. Now, I ain't gonna say I disagree with the man, but I am gonna say that this is a step in the direction that we need. Communities rising up, we have to make sure they rise up. And in the meanwhile, while we still building up that rising up, we need something that's going to be able to hold them some sort of accountable. Because it ain't just we put these people in position and then they in position and we all of a sudden look somewhere else. We gotta hold them accountable as well.
Because these civilian complaint review boards are actually made of community members, and one of the changes that's being proposed in Schenectady is to have formerly incarcerated people as part of the process. And the city council said no. So get on those calls, be a part of those conversations, go to Facebook and find the information, be on our email list, all of the different ways that we can go from here, keep moving forward, be informed. We will be back next Monday.
Yeah, we'll be next Monday. And Richard, I told you I'm looking forward to having me and you in conversation on this Facebook Live to talk about that position that you have specifically on CPRB and many other things. The brother has a pretty deep mind. I listened to him talk the other day.
Yeah, I was on there. I was on Clubhouse. What up to Clubhouse, which is a whole new thing that we're figuring out as well. But we are really excited at our new streaming capabilities.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to use this, share this, invite people to our pages. But remember, we're still in COVID. So wear your mask, drink water, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other.
All right. Peace.
Laters.